This morning I'm going to be starting one of our last batches of tomato sauce or spaghetti sauce, whatever you want to call it. I have two different, these are tomatoes from our house, and then these are tomatoes from my mom's house. I'm thinking I have more tomatoes than are going to fit in my sun oven. So I'm going to try to do a comparison between cooking a batch in the sun oven and cooking a batch in a regular oven. But anyway, I hope you stay tuned to find out how we make our sauce, and I think it's a really good sauce. This is probably my favorite sauce, so stay tuned for my recipe. So I'm just finishing up the last of the tomatoes here. For this recipe, all I do, depending on the size of the tomato, like this size tomato, I'll just cut in half and throw it in there. A bigger tomato, like I even throw slicers in here. A slicer I'll cut into quarters. So it just depends on the size of the tomato. And then I save this one for last because I just think it's cute. But it's still gonna go in. Still gonna go in the sauce. So now that I have all my tomatoes cut, the next step is to put some salt and pepper. Or at least that's what I do. I don't know if you necessarily know that every recipe is gonna call for this. And I will have Nathan put the link in the description for the recipe that I started with. But I'm notorious for modifying recipes, at least in this house. So it just, you really can't go wrong because you're gonna freeze this. So, or at least that's what I do. So I don't have to worry about the acidity level or anything like that. Then, so I put salt and pepper. And then the next thing I'm going to do is just chunk. I'm gonna put about half an onion in each pan. And the smaller pans probably only get maybe a third of an onion, just for, because you don't want it too oniony. Then the next thing that I do is just sprinkle, I'm using avocado oil. There's probably a higher temp oil, but this is okay. We don't use olive oil in our cooking, but today I'm using avocado oil. And then gonna put a splash of vinegar. We use apple cider vinegar. Then I'm gonna put 2 garlic cloves in here. Then the last thing I put in before I put them in the oven or the sun oven, I'll put some basil on here. And I have not found I've not found a point where there's too much basil, so just put as much basil as you want on, or just use what you have. I usually put a pretty good amount of basil on. That's the basic recipe. I will put this in the oven. I generally, if I'm cooking it in the house, go with like 375. But it's really just depends on what you want to do. Like in the sun oven, I just try to keep it in line with the sun, and it takes a little bit longer to cook. Today I'm going to do a comparison on how long it takes to cook in a sun oven versus how long it takes to cook in a traditional oven. But we'll see at the end what our results are. It's just after 10 o'clock. I just came out and set the sun oven up into the correct position. I don't know how well you can see. There's a cat down there too, and that's helping a lot. it's not quite lined up. But for right now, that's as good as I can get. I don't want to tip it, so I had to keep a rock on it. Take 57. I just set the sun oven up. I didn't get it quite lined up onto the dial, but the sun's still coming up. It's not quite high noon yet, obviously, since it's only 10 o'clock, but it'll get warmer. I just want to start getting it warmed up. I'm gonna bring the tomatoes out in a few minutes. I want to let it get at least a little bit warmed up, and there's some condensation on the glass, so I want to try to get that burned off. So anyway, I'll update you when I bring the tomatoes out. Like I said earlier, it was 11 o'clock when I put this in the sun oven. And I came out and checked on it about 12:30. And the top pan looked like it was almost done. Maybe it was actually done, but I didn't. I just flipped them and put the bottom one on top because the bottom one wasn't quite ready. So I think in total it probably took at most 2.5 or 3 hours. I don't know an exact time because I got distracted earlier doing other stuff. But there is one of them. This is still really hot, even though there's no sun in this area now. And then here's the second one. That was the one that had been on top. Ta-da! And the next step is to blend them up in a blender. I'll let them cool off a little bit because I don't like blending hot liquids. These are all the finished tomatoes. The ones in the oven, I don't think I said this earlier. The ones in the oven took about an hour on 375, and then these took, I don't know, I'm guessing like 2.5 hours. We're going to blend them up now, and I'm not sure how many cups we'll have total. I won't know that till I get it all blended up, but looks like we had a pretty successful day of tomato roasting. This part can get a little tricky because you have a bunch of liquid that wants to come off like it's doing. And then I just put a towel over the blender to keep it from making too much of a mess. Ready? We're gonna blend. And as you can tell probably, I left my seeds in. I know some people, it really bothers them to leave the seeds in, but I just don't care, and it's a lot less time to just chunk them up then have to take the seeds out. And I guess we also leave the skins on. Some people don't like doing that. But that is the first of our, well, I guess it's the first of today's. This isn't the first we put in the freezer. But looks like it's about, this one's about 5 cups. Thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this, watching me make this spaghetti sauce. I know I don't do it like other people, some other people, but everyone, I guess, just has their own way. And I think this is really good, so I think you should try it, but that's my opinion.